Hi everyone, I'm Ray and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're in for a treat because we are making a delicious French almond yogurt cake. And this cake, there's kind of a neat little backstory to this cake, which I'll share with you. But we'll do that as we're cooking, and I think you're gonna like it. This cake is also topped with a delicious chocolate ganache that is made with date chips. So not added sugar. It's made with sweetness from dates from Mother Nature. So we'll go through all that super easy. This cake is delicious and easy. And I've got the oven preheated already at 350 degrees, so that is ready to go. And I've started to prepare my pan. I'm choosing to use a springform pan for this particular cake, just because it's easier for the cake to release from the pan once we get it out of the oven and cool it for a few minutes. So I'll show you that when the time comes. But I have lined the bottom of the pan with a piece of parchment paper. And the reason I do that is I just cut it to fit, but I like to do that so it doesn't stick on the bottom. So that's why that's there. Now I've got my chosen avocado spray here, and I'm gonna just do a quick little spray around the edges of the bottom, around the pan here. You can see where it's kind of, I just don't want it to stick to the sides of the pan, and it is an easy release pan, but you never know, it could stick. So I just sprayed it a little tiny bit with avocado oil so it will release. Now this cake does have oil in it as well, and I've chosen to use avocado oil as part of this recipe. And I've done that. The moisture of the oil, it just makes all the difference. I've tried it without oil, and unfortunately this cake does need the oil to make it work right. So we've got our pan prepared and we've got our oven going, so let's just dive into this recipe. So first we are going to start with 3 eggs, and these eggs are organic, they are pasture raised, and they are certified humane. And we've talked about certified humane before in some of my other videos. And that just means that the eggs, or the hens, I should say, are raised in an environment that is as close to their natural habitat as possible. So they're happy hens, let's say. And I think that actually makes the eggs taste better. And then I'm using this whisk. Now, this is a different style of whisk, but because we're gonna also whisk the cake, I like this because if you use the other kind of whisk that are more traditional, the ingredients tend to stick inside the middle of that whisk, and there is no middle on this whisk, so I kind of like it better. So I just want to beat the eggs a little bit so that they're all whisked together before we start adding some of the other ingredients. And we're going to just mix all the wet ingredients first, and then we're going to go ahead and mix the dry ingredients. So that is 3 large happy hen eggs. This is 1/3 cup of avocado oil. And I choose avocado oil over any other kind of seed oil. This one is actually what's called expeller pressed, which means it is pressed without chemicals. A lot of the other oils of today are, to get the oil out of the seed, they use chemicals to do that. And I choose not to select those kinds of oils. So I like the avocado oil because it's cold pressed or expeller pressed in this case. And we're adding a 1/3 cup, or sorry, 1/2 cup, of yogurt. And this yogurt it's called Harmless Harvest. It is a coconut yogurt, and I just like the flavor of it. It doesn't really taste like coconut. It's just got a really nice smooth texture to it, but you could use any yogurt. I just choose to use coconut, and I just buy that because I like the way it tastes. So anyway, that's what I've got in this. But again, you could use a dairy yogurt if you wanted. I mean, it's not like it's a vegan recipe because we are using dairy eggs. So, okay, and again, we're just whisking it, and you'll notice how nicely there's no food stuck in the whisk. This is why I'm using this whisk. Now, this is 1/2 cup of date syrup. And I've talked to you about date syrup before. This is one of my favorite brands. There are a couple, but this one is called Just Date. You can buy it at most stores like Sprouts and Whole Foods and Natural Grocers. Maybe even some of your local co-ops will carry it. Or you can buy it on Amazon. Okay, so let's get that added to this. And I'm just gonna use the same spatula that I used for the yogurt. And then we'll get this blended in. Now the backstory of this yogurt cake is that in France in the 1950s, this cake became very popular because people used to use the yogurt containers to measure everything. So they call it like a no measure cake. It's kind of a charming story. Okay, so those are the wet ingredients. Voila. Now, moving on to the final ingredients. So I've got 1.5 cups of almond flour. And then in here, I've got baking soda, salt, and vanilla powder. Now, don't worry about all the measurements because I'm gonna put a link to the recipe so you can hop over to my website and you can get the full recipe there. So I'm just gonna add those seasonings to this almond flour. And it's almond flour, not almond meal. This requires that it's very finely ground almonds. And so the almond flour is a better choice for this particular recipe than the almond meal. In a lot of recipes, it doesn't matter. In this recipe, it does matter. Okay, and then we are going to add that to the mixture. And then we're gonna whisk it all together. And I like whisking versus beating because all we need to do is get the ingredients here combined. And we don't wanna beat the heck out of it because then it'll make the cake tough. And we don't want the cake to be tough. We want it to be light and fluffy and delicious. So we'll give it a quick stir, and I'm not gonna over stir it. It's just enough to get everything combined. And then we're gonna put it in the pan. That simple. We've got the pan right here, and we're just going to go ahead and pour it in. And I'm gonna use this little spatula just to make sure we get all of the goodness out of the bowl and into the pan. And again, the oven is heating at 350 degrees, and it is already reached temperature. So as soon as we get this in the pan, we are going to pop it in the oven. And we'll let it cook in the oven. And then once I take it out, I'm gonna let it sit for 10 minutes before we take it out of the pan, but then I'll show you how easy it comes out of this springform pan. Now, honestly, you could make it with any cake pan. I just like the way it comes out of the springform pan. So this is ready to go into the oven, and we'll be back in a few minutes after it's done cooking. We have pulled this beautiful cake out of the oven, and I've had it sitting here on its little trivet for probably about 10 minutes. So it's had some time to cool. Now we're gonna have to let it cool completely before we put the ganache frosting on top. But for now, let's get it out of this pan. I am going to release the springform first, and then we'll put the cake plate on top and flip it over, okay? So the beauty of this is it has this little latch right here. And so I'm gonna just release the latch, and the pan itself has a spring in it, and it expands a little bit. And so it just releases. Ah, beautiful, right? So here's how it comes out of the cake pan. Okay, and now that we've got it out of the pan, we're gonna put the plate, our serving plate, over top, and we're gonna flip it over. And try to get it centered as much as you can on top of the plate because it's hard to move once you get it on the plate. But look at how beautiful. Nice. Okay, so now that it's on this plate, we're gonna let it sit probably for 20 minutes so it can become completely cool, and then we're gonna put on the chocolate ganache. And the story about the ganache, another charming little story. It's actually funny. I'll tell you when we come back. Okay, our cake is fully cooled, and I did want to let you know, it was in the oven for about 22 minutes, and I poked my toothpick in, and it came out clean, and that's how I knew it was done. So just a little trick there. Now, I have got the milk on the stove, and I'm heating it up, and what I want to happen is I want the milk to get almost to a boil, but not to a boil. And then we are going to pour that over these beautiful date-flavored chocolate chips. And let me show you the packaging. This is from a company called Just Date. I love this brand. They are carrying it now at Natural Grocers. They carry it at Whole Foods. They carry it at Sprouts. And you can buy it online. I just bought it directly from the company. They sell beautiful pomegranate date syrup and date sugar and all kinds of things, all made with dates and no added or processed sugars, which is fantastic. And this stuff melts beautifully and turns into a lovely ganache. Now, let me tell you the story about ganache, because I love this story too. All these great French tales. So ganache was actually discovered in France as well in the 1800s, I believe. And what was happening is there was an apprentice chef that was being taught by a master chef, and the chef accidentally spilled hot cream into the chocolate that they had there. And he was called an imbecile and a fool. What have you done? And it ended up being this delicacy that we love today. Now, we are using a almond milk. I like the almond milk, especially since it's an almond cake. So I pulled the ganache off, or the milk off the stove. And again, this is half a cup, but I'm not gonna pour it all in at once. I'm gonna just pour a little bit in, and then we're gonna mix it up and see if it's the consistency that we want. And what we're going to do, you could make this as thick or as thin as you want. I like to have it more thick and make it more like a frosting. But you could also make it into a beautiful drizzle, and that would be just as delicious on this cake. While we were waiting for the cake to cool, I went ahead and toasted the almonds that are gonna go on top of this beautiful ganache topping our cake here. And all I did was I put the almonds in a dry pan on the stove, and I just toasted them ever so slightly. And so it's about a half a cup of slivered almonds. Honestly, I'm kind of liking this consistency. I don't like it too runny. I mean, you could do it as a drizzle and it would be beautiful and nice on this cake. But again, I'm gonna do it more like a frosting. The one thing you wanna do is you wanna try to make sure that you've got all the chunks of chocolate melted, right? Because this is a frosting. So we don't want chunkies. I mean, I suppose you could have chunkies if you like that, but I'm going for a frosting consistency here. And again, I'm just stirring it up based on letting the hot milk melt these beautiful date chocolate chips. And I think we're there. Yeah, okay, so let me get this out of the way. So now I'm just gonna spoon it onto this cake, and it's kind of the same color because the dates made the cake darker. So you can't probably see it so good on camera, but I'm just kind of spreading it around here because I'm gonna use this tool, this little spatula here, and we're gonna frost it so it's smooth on top. Okay. Alrighty. All right, and now we're just gonna spread it around. Oh yeah. So all the chocolate chips are melted. This is a nice consistency for what I'm going for here. And we're just gonna get this frosted ever so nicely so that all the cake is covered with chocolate. And then we're gonna come back around with the almonds and we're gonna just sprinkle the almonds on top. Okay, that's how the cake looks. And now we're gonna just sprinkle these almonds on top. And once I get them all on here, I'm just gonna kind of press them down a little bit. But I wanna get them all on here first, make sure it's completely covered the way I want it. And then we'll press them in, and then it'll harden, and they'll kind of be in place. Now, unfortunately, I am taking this to a party, and I wanna take the whole cake. So I'm not gonna bite into it and tell you how delicious it is, but I will tell you, I have made this cake for several parties. Look at how beautiful that is. It's so nice. It's a huge hit at every party, and I am here to tell you it tastes amazing. Many cakes of today are so sweet, and this one, it's just enough sweetness. It's not like a traditional cake that you're gonna buy at a bakery, at your grocery store, or at your local bakery. Because there is no processed flour, no processed sugar. This is a gluten-free cake. There's no wheat. We're just eating almonds. And so unfortunately it's not vegan because we went ahead and used the eggs. I've actually tried to make this with flax, and flax is a great binder, but in this cake, it just really needs the eggs. So I hope you're gonna try this recipe. You saw how easy everything was. It was just so simple to make. Even, I think, almost easier than doing a boxed cake that's full of processed and chemicals and, you know, other kinds of flavors and that are fake, you know? So this is all fresh, wholesome ingredients, and it's a much healthier choice. Bon appetit, everyone. I hope you try it. It's really good. It'll be worth it.